The sound of paper tearing is something you don't forget. It's not loud. It's not dramatic. It's soft, dry, almost polite. And somehow that makes it worse. Because when it happened to me standing in the middle of a bank lobby with strangers watching, I realized this wasn't an accident. It was a decision. A decision about who I was allowed to be in that room. It was a Tuesday just after noon lunch rush. The kind of time when banks are crowded enough that you feel safe, like nothing truly bad could happen with so many witnesses around. I walked into a downtown branch I'd never used before. Glass doors, marble floors, the faint smell of cologne and printer ink. I was carrying a beat-up leather briefcase, the kind that looks like it's been around longer than trends. Inside it was a check for $8.7 million. Not lottery money. Earned money. 5 years of building a logistics software company from my kitchen table from borrowed servers from nights when sleep felt optional. I could have wired the money. MyAC transfer, mobile deposit, all of that. But there's something about walking into a bank and handing over a check you worked your life for. It's symbolic. It's closure. My old man used to say, if you earned it, don't hide it. So I didn't. The woman at the desk looked up and smiled. Her nameplate said Linda Harper, branch manager, late 40s maybe. Calm, confident, the kind of person who's used to being believed. I said, "Good afternoon. I'd like to deposit a check." I slid it across. She looked down. Then she looked up at me. And in that half-second pause, something shifted. If you've ever been on the wrong end of judgment, you know that look. The polite smile stays, but the eyes change. They start asking questions your mouth hasn't answered yet. She picked up the check, scanned it, then looked back at me again. "May I see your ID?" "Sure." "Normal." I handed it over. She studied it longer than necessary, typed something into her computer, frowned slightly. "Do you have another form of ID?" Still calm. Still polite. I gave her my passport. She held the passport up next to my face, not subtly, not privately, right there. I could feel the line behind me quiet down. People pretend not to stare, but they always do. She nodded, set it down, then asked, "And do you have documentation for this business?" That was the moment my stomach tightened. Because now we weren't doing a transaction. We were doing an audition. I explained, "Company sale. Acquisition. Signed 3 days ago." I pulled out the paperwork I'd brought just in case. Press release, incorporation docs, tax filings. She barely glanced at them. "This is a very large amount," she said. "We have to be careful. There's a lot of fraud." Careful with who I didn't say it. I smiled. "I understand. Feel free to verify it." Instead of picking up the phone and calling the company whose name was printed clearly on the check, she pressed a button under the desk. A man in a security jacket appeared a minute later and stood next to me. Not aggressive, just close. Too close, like a reminder. People in line shifted. Someone coughed. Nobody said a word. I took my phone out and placed it on the counter. "Screen down. I'm recording," I said. Her head snapped up. "You can't do that." I told her I could. One-party consent. I wasn't yelling. I wasn't threatening. I was just done shrinking. She told me to step aside so she could help other customers. I said no. I told her she could either process the deposit or explain in writing why she wouldn't. That's when her voice changed. Louder. Sharper. "Sir, this check appears to be fraudulent." The word fraudulent echoed. Like a stain you can't wipe off once it's spoken. I slid a business card across the counter. CFO's direct number. She didn't take it. Instead, she picked up my check with 2 fingers like it was contaminated and asked, "Where did you get this?" Not earn, get. I started to answer, but she wasn't listening. She was already done with me. And then she tore it. Slowly. Once. Then again. 4 pieces. The sound cut through the room. Someone gasped. I felt something hot rise in my chest, but my body went cold. She stepped around the desk and tossed the pieces at me. Paper hit my jacket, fell to the floor. "You're attempting fraud," she said. "Security, escort him out. I'm calling the police." That was the lowest point. Not because of the money. The check could be reissued. It was the certainty on her face. The confidence that she could do this to me in public and nothing would happen. I bent down and picked up the pieces, one by one. Put them in an envelope. I asked for her full name. Took photos. The camera above us. The time. Evidence. My hands were steady. I didn't trust my voice if they weren't. And then the door opened. A man in a tailored suit walked in mid-conversation on his phone. He stopped when he saw us, looked at the floor, the paper, looked at me. His eyes widened just a little. He hung up and said my name. Then he added, "Sir." That word landed differently this time. Heavy, respectful, too late. Everything froze. The manager's face drained. The security guard stepped back. The people in line leaned forward. The man introduced himself as the regional director. Said he'd met me before. Conference, panel discussion. He remembered my company. He asked what happened. She tried to explain. Fraud, procedure, safety. He cut her off. Asked me to speak privately. I said no. I told him exactly what she'd done, and I asked him why respect only showed up after recognition. He apologized. Over and over. Promised to fix it. Replace the check. Make it right. I told him he couldn't. Not really. Because what was torn wasn't just paper. I left. Sat in my car for 10 minutes with my hands on the wheel shaking. Not fear. Anger. I listened to the recording. All of it. I could have deleted it. Walked away. Gone to another bank. Taught myself that silence is easier. Instead, I called a lawyer. What happened next was louder than I expected. Complaints. Other stories. People saying, "This happened to me too." Investigations. Policies exposed. Turns out that manager wasn't a one-off. She was trained, rewarded, encouraged to see people like me as risk before seeing us as customers. Months later, the bank was fined. Leadership changed. Policies rewritten. It wasn't perfect. Justice never is. But it was something. A while after that, I walked into a different bank, different city, different branch. I handed over a check not as big this time, still significant. The teller smiled and said, "Good morning, sir. How can I help you?" From the beginning. No questions, no auditions, no security button. I walked out lighter than I'd walked in. So here's my question to you. Was that manager just doing her job? Or was she doing something we've all seen before, just rarely caught on camera? And if you were in that line watching it happen, would you have said something? Or stayed quiet? Tell me in the comments. Because these moments don't change when only one person speaks. They change when everyone decides what they're willing to accept.